Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners work session. It's Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. It is 11:04 a.m. We're picking up with a work session on the Western Washington Phase 2 Municipal Stormwater Permit Annual Report. This is live streamed on our YouTube channel, and we've just got a half an hour slated, and we have a hard stop at 11:30 because we have another briefing with our Stormwater Advisory Group right after that. So, my name is Ty Manser, Chair of the Board, Vice Chair Commissioner Edwards to my left, Commissioner Carolina Mejia to my right, the County Manager, Mayor Chavez, and Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell are here, and we have staff on our, see Larry Schaffner, and I see other staff up on the screen. I'll let, who's taking the lead on this one, Mayor?
Larry's going to take the lead on this.
Okay, Larry, passing it to you.
Good morning. I'm the Stormwater Coordinator for Thurston County, working in CPED. This will be an informational briefing describing the progress the county made during the 2020 calendar year in complying with the regulations and requirements in our ecology-issued municipal stormwater permit. Just as a reminder, the permit applies not only federal regulations, stormwater regulations, but also the state stormwater regulations. So this is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System under the Clean Water Act, as well as the Water Pollution Control Act, the Washington State. It conditionally authorizes the counties to discharge from our stormwater sewer system. The geographic scope of the permit is not county-wide. If you could see on attachment A, it generally applies to the urbanized areas and the urban growth areas of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. So those areas under the county's control. The compliance with the permit comports several initiatives of the county strategic plan. Examples include balanced development with the preservation of the county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces. Support robust and maintain infrastructure systems for thriving communities. But beyond fulfilling this regulatory obligation, the annual reports demonstrates the county's commitment to transparency and accountability. It describes the action we take to manage stormwater runoff, actions that aid in protecting our natural resources, citizen health and safety, public and private property, infrastructure investments, and our economic vitality. Assembling a report takes a village, so to speak. It involved over 20 staff from 11 different program areas and 5 different departments, including community planning and economic development, public works, central services, public health and social services, and information technology. The annual report itself involves responding to a series of questions, which are summarized in attachment B, and uploading supporting information and documentation electronically via Ecology's website. This reporting period, we had to respond to 110 questions in all. Some of them required yes, no responses. Others provide a number, for example, how many inspections were undertaken, how many facilities cleaned. Some were narrative documentation, for example, describing our education outreach efforts. A big component to the submittal was inclusion of the county's stormwater management program plan. The permit requires the county to update this program plan annually. This 90-page plan gets vetted through the county's stormwater coordination staff team, as well as our citizen storm and surface water advisory board. And it contains the following components. Stormwater planning to help inform and assist development of policies and strategies as water quality management tools. Public education and outreach to reduce and eliminate behaviors and practices that cause or contribute to adverse stormwater impact. Also, to encourage stewardship activities by citizens. Mapping of our storm and sewer system. This includes asset management of that system, responding to illicit discharges, and eliminating illicit connections, controlling runoff from development and construction sites to reduce polluted runoff. This involves implementation of the county's drainage design and erosion control manual, operation and maintenance of our stormwater infrastructure, a source control program to prevent runoff, for example, from businesses getting into our storm sewer system, compliance with obligations contained in ecology and EPA water cleanup plans for impact waterways in Deschutes, Nisqually, Henderson watersheds, and monitoring and assessment, which for the permit requires the county to contribute $23,007, almost $700 annually. This is on top of the $61.8 thousand that we have to contribute for permit fees. So it's an expensive commitment. The permit also requires permittees to report, notify ecology within 30 days of when we become aware that we're out of compliance. This reporting period, we had no such instances. The annual report was submitted by Josh Cummings, the director of CPED, on March 10th, well ahead of the March 31st deadline. We had an interesting twist this reporting year. We were assembling this in the midst of an ecology audit of our 2019 annual report submittal. These audits are a new program ecology is conducting for all municipal permittees on an annual basis. The timing of this was challenging for the county since we were in the midst of assembling 2020 annual report. But staff rose to the occasion wonderfully. It did present the county an opportunity for us to share and ecology more familiar with our stormwater management program. But it did trigger, our time-sensitive response. We were notified. We had about a week to respond. And then that was followed up by a meeting with ecology. We went through that with flying colors. Ecology had no concerns. They asked some clarifying questions, as well as inquired about some of our approaches for meeting future permit obligations. They gave the county kudos for implementing many of our programs countywide. And they shared some of their expectations going into the future. So that's a quick summary of the annual reporting process and our experience for this recent reporting period. Did you have any questions?
I think you're doing a great job, Larry.
Go ahead, Ramiro.
I would say we are doing a good
There
job.
you go.
It takes quite a few staff from all various departments trying to get all the cogs working together on a rather complex permit that they add requirements every time they reissue it. So I extend those thanks to all the staff who contribute to our success.
Hey, Larry, this is Romero. Thank you. So do you have any non-compliance activities in 2020? If so, how many? And just curious.
So there was none in 2020 for this year. We had one instance, which was we missed the deadline. It was impacted. It was a program impacted because of COVID, and so it was one of our targets for our education and outreach requirement. But we have come into full compliance. Ecology has shared the county's experiences and challenging implementing some of our programs under COVID protocols is by no means unique. So.
And any type of enforcement associated with any of the activities? None?
There was enforcement by ecology?
By the county because we oversee a lot of development as well as internal compliance to the NPDES permit. Was there any enforcement associated with that in 2020?
Sure. There was enforcement actions. Most of them associated with oversight of construction stormwater runoff. And so these were enforcement actions for example, for erosion and sediment control type issues that the inspectors encountered.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. So is this report done it's due every year on March 31st, or is it once every couple of years? How does it work?
No, it's required annually, and it's due on March 31st. Sometimes the nature of the questions change. Most of them are the same, but some new ones pop up depending on the reporting year. For example, this reporting year, there was a slew of new questions related to some new requirements regarding stormwater related planning and land use planning. So we had some staff help with that, which was their rookie year in responding to some of the annual reporting requirements.
Thank you.
Larry, can I ask you about, so all these activities that are laid out here, they're funded by stormwater fees? Can you talk about who pays what, like, you know, who pays these fees? How much do they pay? Is it a flat amount? Is it based on the project? Are those fees set by law, or do Thurston County set them? Can you talk about that, how we fund all of this work?
Yeah, the bulk of the work is paid from fees collected, storm and surface water fees collected by the storm and surface water utility. The rates are set by the county. The rates can differ based on, for example, different residential types, single family, multifamily. There's a rate for commercial industrial properties. So those fees, those fees are collected through the property tax statement issues. So while it isn't a tax, it's a fee, that's the mechanism it's collected.
And is that, I know we look at the financial plans of all these, I mean, is that looking at Robin, is that I think we've always think of that as a stable fund in terms of the money that comes in funds the activities that we need to do.
Yep.
And from your perspective, Larry, there's not, we have a lot of programs that are underfunded in Thurston County where we'd like to do this, but we only do so much because we don't have the funding. Is there a list of activities that you think need to be done or you'd like to do if you had the resources to do them? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, this actually is going to be something explored in more detail in the budget. You've allocated money to undertake development of a stormwater comprehensive plan, a business plan for the utility. So it's going to look at the utilities existing programs and levels of service, our obligations under the commitment. What would you as elected officials, as well as our directors and managers, like to see carried out? There are some activities that county carries out related to stormwater and water quality protection that aren't currently mandated by the permit. For example, the county has a stormwater-related capital facilities program, which is also funded by utility fees. Some of the areas in our program, I think, may not so much be a funding issue, but a staffing level issue or a recruitment issue for some of the niche talent and expertise we need. But I think it's a broader conversation that will be happening and will be facilitated by that planning process coming up.
Let me give you a very specific example, just as a hypothetical. It's not hypothetical really, but I'm just, as an example of what I'm asking, I guess, is we have groups of citizens that come to us from Black Lake, for example, and they're worried about their, the Black Lake water quality. And stormwater issues are usually identified kind of in a generalized way by some of the citizens there. And so since you're kind of the expert in terms of all the different things that go into our management of stormwater and what the possibilities are and what other places do, what is it that they're talking about? What is it that they think? I'm asking you to speculate on, but what is your sense of what they could be talking about that we could be doing or we should be doing or we're not doing that contributes to lake water quality being affected by stormwater runoff? We have low impact development standards. I know those can be adjusted here or there. I thought ours were pretty strong. What is your sense of what they're getting at, Larry?
Okay, well, thank you. So runoff, stormwater runoff could come from the end of pipe from the municipal systems, or it could come from overland flow. So I think especially for lakes, a big contributing factor in many cases is overland flow, the non-point source, which is referred to non-point source pollution runoff. And I think that is an area that the county could put more energy and attention and resources to, is a more robust non-point source program.
What would that look like? I mean, how do you do that? How do you do that? Like if we gave you a big fat check, what would you take that money and do?
Well, it requires more than money. It requires staffing and program development. It would help, for example, get to pollutants generated overland flow from ag, from failing septic systems. So nutrient type issues, bacteria type issues. The program would manifest itself in terms of outreach to help educate, help provide tools to property owners to help prevent or eliminate the causes of these pollutions. It would fund a more robust program for pollution identification and tracking and correction of those issues, and the staff to support that kind of program. We'd have to evaluate whether we have the enforcement mechanisms, if and when needed, to follow up on some of those folks who need more of a nudge.
Are you aware of any counties that do substantially more than what Thurston County does in this area? Is there a county that's held up as the gold standard in Washington State for their approach to this, or is that something you know?
You know, I don't know that there's a gold standard. I think in some jurisdiction it has been a higher priority, or it's been made a higher priority. For example, Kitsap County is very dependent on surface water for their drinking water, and then Whatcom County has issues associated with their lakes and so forth. So I think there's emerging issues or existing issues in Thurston County that would benefit from building a stronger, more robust program to give attention to this. We're having beach closures, we're having lakes, and we're having to close it down to drinking water, toxic algae blooms, and so forth. These will likely get worse with the changes we're experiencing with climate change and so forth. The heating up will exacerbate this.
Anybody else? We've got a few minutes left.
Well, I guess, Larry, are you aware of any of those organizations that actively incorporate community groups more than we do? Say, we've got a couple lake management districts, but do other jurisdictions have lots of lake management districts that help towards solving these particular problems, or pointing out that, we need a settling pond here before that runoff goes there, or whatever, so.
Yeah, no, good questions. It's not something I'm really familiar in. I would have to look into it.
Okay.
I know some jurisdictions also have a diking districts.
Oh, okay.
Which, that's a big undertaking. I'm not sure that Thurston County necessarily needs to go there.
But that could help in recharge, I suppose, too, then, huh?
Or flood, or
Yeah,
flood-related type issues. I believe Pierce County has a diking district. I imagine Snohomish County, for example, might have a diking district, although I'm not sure.
Okay, if there's nothing further. County Manager.
Just a quick, maybe a minute, if you can describe, I think we've been with Commissioner Mejia, the difference between phase 1 and phase 2 counties. Thurston County is a phase 2 county. Can you describe that a little bit? Because there's different requirements for each of those counties under different phases.
Yeah. So phase 1 permittees in Washington State, there are 7 of them. City of Tacoma, City of Seattle, Clark County, Pierce County, King County, Snohomish County, and Washtenaw. And at the time that the first EPA was rolling out the first program, there was population thresholds that were set, and those entities hit that threshold. So that was the first phase of the NPDES National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Program rollout by EPA. And they focused on those larger urban areas. Phase 2 refers to everything that happened since then. And for better or for worse, whether it's fair or not, and it probably isn't, there won't be any more phase 1 jurisdictions. And those phase 1 jurisdictions have more expectations in terms of their permit requirements and obligations. But for example, there are some phase 2s with populations now that if they would have had those populations back then would have been a phase 1 jurisdiction. The city of Bellevue comes to mind. They would have triggered that back then, but they are a phase 2 just by the luck of, the population growth at the time. So ecology's intention over time is to have the phase 2 permit requirements ratchet up to the same level as the phase 1 permit requirements. And they have been doing that incrementally over the last several permit cycles. And we expect that to continue with the reissuance in 2024.
Thank you.
We're out of time, Larry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're on a different Zoom for the
Yeah,
next.
different Zoom.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned. We're gonna pick up with our Surface and Stormwater Advisory Board briefing on a different Zoom. Thank you.